Hey everybody, it's Peter, and this is the 2026 Indian Pursuit. This is a bike that I've probably overlooked a little bit too often, and I feel like it may be overlooked by you too often. So what we're going to do in this initial review is try to show you a number of things that the other videos aren't showing you. We're going to try to dig into some of the details, show you some things, but really what this is an introduction for you to let me know in the comments the types of things that you want to know about this bike. Of course, I always refer to big bike, I say something like the Goldwing, but really there's so many other great cruisers and tourer bikes out there that this one really is different than the Goldwing, offers a whole lot of character, obviously competes with that other big brand that we all know about, but I think the Indian gets overlooked. So what we're going to do in this review is we're going to go over it bit by bit by bit in a fairly extensive but still minimal type review. We're going to show you some of the key things that maybe don't stand out, and then again, you can let me know the types of things that you want to know, and we'll come back to it in a future video to make sure that you get all the information you need. If that sounds interesting, I'm filming here at Rally Motoplex, where they give me complete access to their entire motorcycle lineup, and of course I film a whole bunch of other places as well, and I will continue to make sure that every 2026 motorcycle I possibly can get my hands on is on film and ready for you to have some reviews. So if that sounds interesting, do me a favor, hit subscribe, and if you can, find a couple videos on my channel that you are interested in and watch them to the end. That watching to the end really helps me grow. The more I grow, the more access I get to more bikes, the more things I can do with them. We're only a couple years into this, and we're steadily growing, so let's just keep it rolling. All right, let's get going with this review. So before we go too far, I like to put every bike in its class, and in this bike we're not specifically going to talk about the class. We're going to talk about what you get with this. Now this is of course a touring bike, and a lot of people feel that you need to get a touring bike to go touring, and that's just not true. I drive a 40 horsepower Royal Enfield that can tour not quite as well as this, but can certainly get you places and take your luggage and that kind of thing. So what you're really dealing with in here is a luxury tourer, and those have a whole bunch of different ways of giving you that luxury. Indian is a premium brand, there's a lot of premium features in this bike, but the key here is you're dealing with a traditional V-twin engine. Last year the engine was reintroduced as a new engine, so you've got a new engine in this, but you also have a whole bunch of features in here that allow you to go for a long ways with style. Now you can take this bike just as is with no accessories, but a lot of the fun of owning a bike like this is accessorizing it up. So while these are not the cheapest bikes out there, a lot of people are going to want to keep a little extra budget in mind for making it completely yours. Now to me, this is more than I need, so I would take it as is and add accessories as you go, but as equipped, I think it's a very well equipped unit. I think it's surprising in some of its features. So we're going to start at the front wheel like I always do. We're going to work our way back and talk about some of those surprising features. So when you think of a big over 900-pound cruiser, you think about, oh, it's going to have poor handling and it's going to have poor brakes, right? That's just the assumption. It's a heavy bike. It's, designed for style first, and that's not the case here. What you have here is something that's a little bit unique in the segment. So first of all, let's just talk about brakes. Dual discs, Brembos, of course. So Brembo you can see here. That's kind of rare for the class to have Brembo brakes. Sometimes you just go for style. So again, you're going to have plenty of braking for the size of this motorcycle. That's not a concern. One of the things that interests me is the profile of the tire here. A lot of times you go with a big, cushy cruiser tire for looks, and that can make the handling feel a little bit more wishy-washy. But what you have here is a sport tire profile. What I mean is sort of the small sidewall, the sort of sharp angle there, and that's going to allow this bike to handle surprisingly well for what it is. I'm not claiming that this will be a Suzuki sport bike or anything like that, but it is something that gives you a little bit more sportiness than you might expect. So great brakes, upside down suspension here, sporty style tires, and then lots of style. One of the things you're going to find with Indian is there's lots of little details, and you probably can't see it all here. In fact, let me just see if I can zoom in for you to just a couple of the little details that you probably can't see. So we're going to bring the camera down a little bit. We're going to zoom in a little bit more. And you can see the sort of polished edges of the spokes there along with the black edge. So you've got that shiny sort of black and the polished edge. There's a lot of visual details that are interesting on this bike that just make it stand out. A couple of things worth noting. You have proper LED driving lights down here, down really low. Those are really high quality LED lights down there. So you have them down low. They're going to help you to be seen, but they're also going to help you to see others. And of course, if you want to be seen, you've also got a large fairing with a large light out there. Let's take a look just from the very, very front before we move through. One of the things these luxury touring bikes really do well is they give you a lot of wind protection. You can kind of see that there's little winglets here that are plexiglass like the windshield that give you a little bit of wind protection. This is a wide fairing down there, and down low here your legs are also going to be protected from that wind right into those driving lights down low. So we're going to show you that, but that's one of the benefits of having these luxury touring models is you really get protected from the elements. Not just the wind, but if you get caught in the rain, if you're going to do a big tour, you're going to get caught in bad weather, things like rain. This is going to keep you dry, keep you out of the weather, and also give you some pretty cool style here. A lot of little details to show you, so let's move through. So although this is a 2026 model, the 2025 introduced this new engine, the 112 cubic inch, of course, American brand, cubic inch engine here, making 126 horsepower and a massive 133 foot-pounds of torque. What that means is you have not just sport bike level horsepower, but you also have big cruiser style torque. So that liquid cooled engine there still gives you that V-twin rumble, that's V-twin style, but it's really all about smooth power. So again, plenty of horsepower for high-speed riding if you're trying to make up time on the highway, but also plenty of torque to really give you the feel of a fast, capable bike no matter how much it's loaded down. Just about 937 pounds. So again, heavy bike with people, but I'm going to jump on it right now and I'm going to show you that that 900 plus pounds is really not that hard to manage, and that's one of the surprising things with some of these luxury tourers. So one of the things I think a lot of people do is they look at the weight of a bike like this and they decide, no, that's not the bike for me, I'm going to get something lighter. And they end up with something that's more sport touring, or they end up with something that is more adventure touring. And although those bikes are often lighter, they tend to have a much taller seat and they actually can feel heavier. So one of the things with this bike is as I take my 6-foot frame and jump across it, it's not hard to take off the center stand. The handlebars come out sort of towards you here and the seat is low. Again, you can see that big solid, or the big bend in my legs here. One of the things that's cool is if you have a bike like this and you stop in a spot where the road is uneven or something like that, you've got lots of room to put your feet out further, down further, if there's a pothole or something where you stick your feet, and you're gonna feel fairly confident keeping this bike upright. Now, obviously this isn't a beginner bike, but I will tell you that this 937 pound bike does not feel nearly as intimidating as some 500, 600 pound bikes, simply because of the low seat height, the very balanced feel of it, and just the overall position of handlebars, controls. You definitely feel like you're in control. So don't let the weight scare you away if it's purely for handling it on the slow speed type things. You should get on this bike and see what it's like for yourself, and don't move to a bike that you really don't like as much, that has a taller seat height, which may be just as intimidating, because trust me, at 900 some odd pounds you're not lifting it yourself, and at 650 pounds, that kind of thing, and some of these sport tours and adventure tours, you may not be lifting that by yourself either. So overall seating position, surprisingly comfortable, surprisingly confidence inspiring. The other thing you're going to get is this big fairing above you. You do have an electronic windscreen, which actually, why don't we just turn that on for a quick second here. You probably can't see it, but right now the windshield is here. I'm going to raise up the windscreen. It's going to change angles here. I don't know if you can see it as well there, but it's changing angles. It's coming up, so it was here, it's now up there. It's got a vent in the front to allow you to have that pressure balance when that windscreen is up, but it's going to send that wind right over your head. And the nice thing is you can move that electronically or electrically right here in front of you. So that's one of the benefits of having something like this. Again, some technology you may not expect from one of these bikes, but it gives you the style and that protection. All right, turn the bike off. We're going to move you around. We're going to take a look at the seats, take a look at some of the details, take a look at the luggage, and then we're going to move you to the dash. So one of the big reasons to get one of these luxury tours over something like a sport tour or an adventure tour is the seating. And you can see here that low seat height of the driver's seat or the rider's seat. You've got that dual stitching here. You've got the nice softness here, but underneath that softness is some firmness. You don't want a seat that's too soft. You want a seat that can keep you comfortable over the long run, and that's what this seat is absolutely going to do. You can sort of see here at the bottom of the page, actually you can't quite see, just right there. Actually, why don't we just show you that one. There's a piece there that's identical to that, but the angle isn't showing it very well. That is your heated seats for your rider and your passenger. They are separate. But one of the reasons you want this bike is for the passenger capacity, the passenger ability here. And you can see here your passenger is going to be very comfortable here. One of the big benefits of this is that low seat height for you gives way to a higher seat height, so the second passenger, even if they can't see over your head, they have certainly a lot more view. They're not behind your back kind of thing. Often the second passenger is a little shorter than the front passenger, and they're put in a position where they're in a commanding position, but they're also kept in line with the bike. Now, of course, if you ever had a passenger on a bike that leans the wrong way or doesn't lean when you're leaning, that can throw the bike off. This bike is going to be affected less by that because of its weight, but it also is going to make sure that it keeps your passenger in line and extremely comfortable with sort of the built-in armrest there. They really don't have to hang on to you to feel comfortable and secure on a bike like this. We should also talk about luggage. One thing we will do before we open this luggage is talk about this one has the sound package. It has stereo speakers, has speakers everywhere. I think it's a 600 watt system if I can remember correctly. One thing that's kind of cool, I don't know if you can see it here in the video, we'll try to turn it on here. There is a little bit of backlighting in those, yeah, you can kind of see it there, turn on just sort of in the video, a little bit of backlighting in some of the speakers, both on this section here and as we roll to the front on your front speakers as well. So if you like taking your tunes with you, absolutely got the ability to do that with this bike, but if you like taking other things with you that take up more space than your tunes, let's show you the luggage capacity. So we're still on the same side of the bike here, the left side of the bike, and you just press this down here, you can get into your luggage, and you can see it's a nice deep luggage. A couple nice things about this, I don't know if you can see the depth, you probably can't see the depth at all, but if I go down there, you know, nice and deep there, and of course it comes up a little bit on the top there. So good size luggage in here. I can't remember the exact volume capacity, you can check that on the website, or we can get back to that in the future here. But the nice thing is, because it opens on the top side, that really does give you the ability to load stuff in and not lose stuff. It's not coming down not coming out the sides. The other thing is it has really good gaskets on here. Of course, that's going to keep the water out, but you can also kind of tell when you slam it shut here. It just slams properly shut. It doesn't feel plasticky. It doesn't feel like it's not aligned or anything like that. Again, this is a premium bike. You should have some of those premium things. All right, let's take a look at the rear box as well. So taking a look at the rear box here, first of all, before we go too far, I want to show you all the lighting here. Some marker lights just kind of everywhere on this bike. Really gives you a unique lighting signature. It has the dual exhaust out the back there and there. But the cool thing about this bike is it just has a lot of modern style with also the classic lines. Now you do have some functionality here. There is a little rack that comes along the back there. If you ever had to tie something down, needed a little extra tie down, you have a spot. Maybe something hangs off the rack there, you have an extra spot to tie it down, but really that's just for style. This rack on top I think is really useful if you're going camping or something like that. Just put a tent up there, allow it to dry in the wind a little bit. But of course inside this box is really what we're talking about here. So I'm going to pop that open for a second here. You push the lock in there as well, and you can lift it up here if I do it correctly. So you lift it all the way up, and I'm going to move you closer because I want to show you how this clears out of the way and gives you a lot of space. So it's really not showing on video here, but I'm going to try to sort of lower it down. You can see that the hinge point is here, not over here. And what that does is it really pulls this out of the way, allowing you to drop things in directly from the top. That allows you to load whatever you need to load, but also if this is loaded, to be able to get to different areas. So for instance, if you're at the side of the bike and you just know you want to get something in here, you can reach in from any side down to get to just the thing you need to without having to battle that top. And of course it leans out of the way that even in the wind, it's not going to blow back on you. You've got a 12-volt port right over there in here, and again a nice sort of lined compartment here, so you can put your helmets in there, you can put whatever you need in there. It is definitely something that is spacious. It is definitely something that is well thought out, and this is obviously not the first luggage India's ever made. Of course, you also have some room above the depth here because the top curls up, so if you had something that goes above the line that you're seeing right here, you can still go into that lid there with tons of space. Again, just well-designed stuff, quality stuff. This is what you would expect in a luxury tourer, but again, there's really no flaws yet to this bike. Everything is done with quality and style. So the problem with a luxury tourer in the showroom is that they put it under luxury style lights and you have a lot of glare here. We are going to turn this bike on. What I think a lot of people are going to like is you can see how bright the backlighting was on these traditional gauges. So again, you have that nice Indian display coming on the bottom there. The flicker that you're seeing is just the way it interacts with the camera. It's actually no flicker in real life. It's very clear, very precise, and it is a touch screen down there. We're going to hit the OK button down here. Oops, missed it there. Hit the OK button down there, and we'll take a look at that in a second. But first I want to zoom into your gauges here. They're in miles per hour, even though we're here in Canada here. And you can see the miles per hour. After 120, it just kind of like shortens it up. If you're going 200 kilometers an hour, 120 miles an hour, you probably don't need to know anymore exactly the speed you're going. So again, 60 at the top, that's where you're going to be living in that 40 to 80 range of miles per hour. So again, nice and clear. The camera's not showing at all how clear it is, and you do have a tachometer over here. There is a gear indicator in the bottom display here on the left side showing neutral. One is just the kilometers on this. So again, it is set to kilometers in the odometer at this point because it is a Canadian bike. So if you see miles per hour and kilometers per hour, you'll maybe be confused. I will tell you that the glare here in the center is just glare off a piano black style thing. That's not a screen in there. The big screen you have is down here. We can go through this in a later time, but you have a navigation, you have a system there that gives you a well-placed view. And that's the one thing I will show you as we come out. We're going to go fully wide angle for a second here. As we take a look at the wide angle, you really can see that this is directly in front of you, essentially, you know, maybe a hair down, whereas a lot of motorcycles you're looking down. That's one nice thing to have on these luxury tours, is that everything is well within your view. I should show you that windscreen again here. We'll just bring it up and down. You can see it coming up there. That vent in the bottom there, that hole in the bottom, allows you to create, when you take all that wind away, it allows some air to pass through, which doesn't create that sucking feeling and that buffeting feeling. So it's going to protect you from some of that there. Let's take a look at some of the controls on the handlebars. All right, the first thing I want you to do is continue looking at the mirror, but continue looking at this section right there in the mirror. I'm going to turn the bike on right now. I'm going to disappear from the mirror's view, but I'm going to turn the bike on, and you're going to see a light come on there. That light right there, that big yellow light. This bike has blind spot monitoring, so another nice technological feature that maybe you didn't expect to see in this bike, blind spot monitoring. So in addition to something like that, we're going to show you just the basic controls. So while the basic controls here, if we scroll down to them, are not all that advanced, this bike does have some hidden features that you may not expect. So again, typical stuff here. You've got your trigger for your high beam down here. You've got your horn over here. You've got your lights. You've got your signals that are well within view. That's easy to have. Audio controls and other controls here if you're connected to intercoms and that kind of thing. As we scroll across to the other side of the bike here, you're going to see the other controls that are right there. So the big one is that windshield control I've just been showing you on the bottom. Let's go in a little further than that. All right, so you got your power switch up top. You can see that power button up top. I'm going to try to get all this handle here. Kill switch is not red. You got to be all about style here. The power button here is because it's a keyless entry system. Just touch the power button and it comes to life. Your cruise control's right there, and this was the up and down of the windshield. So again, the controls are much simpler on this bike, and maybe that's one thing you would expect from Indian, but don't let that fool you into thinking this is not a modern high-tech bike, because it really is. It just doesn't have that feel of something that's ultra confusing with too many TFT screens and that kind of thing. All right, this is not the easiest way to show you things here, and this is probably why other videos don't show you this, but there's that windshield that does go into the fairing there, which is kind of cool. And then down here you have an area here that's not going to show on camera well, but this blacked out area does flip a little bit of wind out on the bike. Again, that's all going to keep you wind and weather protected. Down a little further is the area between what covers your legs there and what covers sort of your upper body, and you can see hopefully there, this little winglet down here. That is a tinted winglet here, just again going to keep that wind off you, and all of that leads to a very luxurious ride. And the bigger thing is, it's not just going to be luxurious, it's going to keep you from tiring out a long ride. From comfortable seats to cruise control to adjustable windshield to all the little winglets and aerodynamic details, all of those things are going to keep you less tired. And if you dream about riding across the country, you also want to enjoy the things you're seeing, and that's one of the benefits of this bike, is it's really going to give you all the things you need to be comfortable, from heated seats, comfortable seats, gripping you in place type seats, wind protection, an engine that makes everything easy, high speed, low speed, all that stuff. Now I say low speed, this is not the best low speed bike you can buy, but it is manageable because of its balance. And you can also see things like the crash bars. If you were ever to have a mistake or something like that, you've got the crash bars right back there. You've also got the crash bar right down here built into the fairing there. So little things just to protect you and the bike if there was something that went wrong. One other little feature here, I forgot what this thing's called here on the front here, but it does have a bright LED light, so that is kind of a cool little feature of this Indian here. That white LED light doesn't show up on camera the way it does in person, but just gives you a little bit more of a lighting signature of a bike like this. There's so many little details on this bike that make it stand out, make it feel special, and that's part of what you get in a luxury type brand. So let's talk about who should buy this bike. Well, first of all, you already have been riding for a while, you know that, and you're maybe looking at things like the Goldwing and the traditional brands. Maybe you're looking at a Harley. Well, why should you look at this? Well, again, I think what this does is it gives you that traditional cruiser that just is a unique experience. That big V-twin is a really unique experience. It gives you some of the technology without feeling like you're overwhelmed with technology. You still have, not the regular, TFT screen everywhere, TFT display screen everywhere, but you still have the modern navigation in there. You have all the abilities of the other bikes, but to me, you have a little bit more character, a little bit more visual interest everywhere you look, and it's hard to show that kind of stuff on video, but you have something that really feels unique and feels special in this Indian Pursuit. So to me, this is for those people who are going to be regular to taking a second person, who want to go long distances, maybe do some traveling, that kind of thing, explore all kinds of places, but want to do it in comfort and don't want to be exhausted when you arrive, wherever you arrive. These bikes, this class of bike is great for all weather conditions, but Indian just goes a little step further with a little bit of details here and there while still keeping that traditional area. We've got BMW bikes just over there. To me, the difference between this and a BMW, the BMW does feel a little sportier for sure. It also feels quite a bit larger, and it really has a whole different style, a whole different feel. Technologically, it feels more like a spaceship, where this feels more like a motorcycle. I think there's a market for both, but if you want sort of that traditional motorcycle with the technology there to help you out and to assist you, that's where I think this thing shines. And of course, styling, accessories, you really end up with a timeless motorcycle here that's not going to look out of date no matter how long you want to keep it. So there is my initial review of the Indian Pursuit. If you want to have more in-depth of some of these bikes, just let me know in the comments the types of things you want to see, and I'll make sure I come back to them again and again till we fill out the video database of everything you could want to know. So thanks everybody for watching. We'll catch you in the next one.